Hello, friends. About 99% of friends who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would be very happy if you did. Also, don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content reach everyone and helps the channel grow. Also, let me know in the comments from which country you are watching the video. It started on a Tuesday night, which ain't exactly a day that screams danger, but I've learned over the years that horror doesn't care much for calendars. I was running a haul from Cheyenne to El Paso, simple route I'd done more times than I can count. Nothing about that trip should have been different. But something was. And I ain't talking about the weather or the weight of the load. No, this was something deeper, something crawling just under the skin of the night, making everything feel just a little too quiet, a little too off. I'd just passed mile marker 233 when my radio crackled like someone was about to speak. I hadn't heard a soul on that frequency in hours. Long-haul truckers use Channel 19 mostly, just to shoot the breeze, warn about smokies or roadkill. But this was static, sharp like whispers coming through a broken speaker. I leaned over, adjusted the knob, and that's when it came through. This voice, low and breathy, barely there. It said, "Keep your lights on." Nothing else, just that. Now, I ain't the type to spook easy. Years of being on the road have shown me everything from drunk swerving into my lane to critters the size of deer leaping out of nowhere. But that voice, it chilled me. Because it wasn't just what it said, it was how it said it, like it knew me, like it was already watching me. I flicked the cab lights off and back on just to check them and kept rolling. A couple more miles down, that's when I saw the first one, a hitchhiker. Nothing unusual there except this guy. He wasn't moving, just standing off to the side of the road facing my truck as I barreled toward him at 70. Most folks at least wave or try to flag you down, but he just stood there. And I swear on all that's holy, his eyes, they glowed, not like a reflection, like they were lit from inside. I gripped the wheel tight, heart thudding, and didn't even slow. Just flew past him and checked the mirror. But he wasn't there. Not on the road, not in the field, nowhere. I shook my head, told myself I'd been on the road too long, maybe nodding off. Reached for my coffee and tried to brush it off. But 5 minutes later, he was there again. Different spot, same guy, same glowing eyes, just standing, and again, gone the second I passed. That's when I pulled over. I ain't crazy, and I sure as hell ain't one to mess with ghosts or demons or whatever the hell this was. But I needed to breathe, needed to think. I killed the engine, let the silence settle. It was too silent. Highways are never silent, not really. Even out in the boonies, there's bugs, wind, the hum of your cooling engine. But there, nothing. I stepped out of the cab, boots crunching gravel, and that's when I heard it. Footsteps. Behind me. I spun, but there wasn't anybody. My flashlight caught empty trees and asphalt, and then I saw the writing. On the side of my trailer, scrawled in something dark, dripping. "You've already seen him." I backed up, heart racing now, because that wasn't there at my last stop. No way. I climbed back in the truck, locked the doors, and peeled out fast. My mind was racing, trying to piece it together. Was it some prank? Did someone follow me from the last rest stop? But no one had been there. I checked my dash cam. Nothing. Just road, no hitchhiker, no voice on the CB. Like it had all been in my head. But that writing... I took an exit, pulled into a truck stop, and ran a hand along the trailer. Clean. No message, no blood or paint or whatever the hell it had been. I felt insane. Grabbed a hot dog from inside, needed something in my stomach. Sat at a booth and looked around at the other drivers. Some younger, some older than me. I thought about asking if any of them had seen anything weird. But then I looked at the TV on the wall. News was playing. Mile marker, 233, memorial marks. 10th anniversary of mass vanishing. I froze. The footage showed that stretch of highway, the same one I'd just driven. Reporter said 10 years ago, 3 trucks disappeared within a 5-mile radius. No wrecks, no signs of struggle, no bodies, just gone. I felt ice in my gut. Paid my tab, got back on the road. Maybe I should have turned around. Maybe I should have called someone. But I didn't. I kept driving. Because that's what we do, truckers. We keep going, no matter what. But the further I drove, the more I realized I hadn't left that stretch behind. No matter how many miles passed, I kept seeing the same markers, the same trees, the same damn hitchhiker. Like I was stuck in some loop, like the road had swallowed me, and then the radio came alive again. This time, it said, "You should have kept your lights off." I slammed the brakes, because standing in the middle of the road, this time directly in front of me was the hitchhiker. Only now he was closer. I could see his face, or what was left of it. Hollow sockets where his eyes had been, mouth stretched in a grin too wide, skin peeling like old wallpaper. And then he opened his mouth and screamed. Not like a human, like a train whistle made of agony and wind and death. My lights flickered, engine sputtered, and everything went black. When I woke up, it was daytime. My truck was parked perfectly at a rest stop. No sign of damage, no sign of the hitchhiker. I checked my clock. 12 hours had passed. My logbook was filled out, but not by me, my handwriting, but it wasn't mine. And scrawled at the bottom of the page, "This is only the beginning." That's when I knew I'd brought something with me. Something that didn't care about time or logic or rules. I ain't stopped driving since. Because every time I rest too long, I hear that voice on the radio. And every time I try to quit, to settle down somewhere, the road finds me. And I see those glowing eyes in the window. So if you're hearing this, if you're thinking about hitting the highway for a living, just remember, some roads don't want to let you go. Some roads, they remember. And they'll come looking for you when the night is long and your lights flicker and your radio crackles. Keep driving. Or you might find yourself stuck in the same endless mile, haunted by something that was never really alive. Let me know when you're ready for the next portion. Kept driving through that stretch of empty road, feeling like my truck wasn't just carrying freight, but something darker, something invisible that had crept inside somewhere along the way. I hadn't told anyone about the girl in the middle of the highway yet, not even the dispatcher. Figured no one would believe me anyway. But man, she wasn't the last strange thing I'd see out there. Couple nights later, I was driving through Nevada, somewhere past Ely, when I pulled into a rest area to stretch and take a leak. Real quiet spot. Just one light flickering over the lot, and an old vending machine humming like it was struggling to stay alive. I stepped out and lit a smoke, trying to settle my nerves. That's when I saw it again. Footprints in the gravel. Bare feet. And they weren't mine. They started behind my rig and went around the side like someone had been walking in circles around my truck. I looked around. No one. I climbed back in, locked the doors, and started her up. I didn't stop again that night. But something followed me. I could feel it. Every time I looked in the mirror, I swore I saw a shadow duck just out of view. I checked the sleeper berth a dozen times. Empty. But that didn't matter. Sometimes, you know when you're not alone, even when your eyes lie to you, and things only got worse from there. I made it to my drop-off in Salt Lake, dead tired and jumpy as hell. The whole yard felt off. The fog rolled in thicker than usual that morning, and I swear I saw the silhouette of someone standing behind the fence near the loading dock, just watching me. I tried to wave, but they didn't move. When I walked over, nobody was there, just footprints in the dew-covered grass, barefoot again. You ever try to shake something you can't see? It's like trying to hold on to air. My dispatcher thought I was burning out, told me to take a few days off, but rest wasn't going to fix whatever was going on. Not when it followed me home. Yeah, that's right. I got back to my place, small rental just outside of Reno. I live alone, no kids, no roommates, no pets. But when I opened the door, it was like I'd never left the truck. My boots were muddy, even though I'd taken them off before coming in. The hallway smelled like exhaust fumes, and in the bathroom mirror, written in condensation, were the words, "Why didn't you stop?" That's when I knew it. The girl, the shadows, the footsteps, they weren't tied to the truck. They were tied to me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat up in the living room, shotgun across my lap, every light on. At 3:13 a.m., the TV turned. On by itself, just static. I pulled the plug. It kept going. The shadows in the hallway stretched longer than they should have, like something tall and thin was standing just out of sight. I kept hearing this low, wheezing breath coming from the kitchen, like someone trying to whisper through water. That sound's burned into my brain now. I'd rather hear nails on a chalkboard than that gurgling, wet breathing again. By morning, the only evidence anything had happened was the condensation message still on the mirror. I wiped it clean, packed a bag, and got the hell out of there. Hit the road again. Figured maybe it was tied to stillness, that whatever it was needed me to stop moving to catch up, so I stayed behind the wheel. Just kept moving. But no matter where I went, I saw signs. Shadows in tunnels that didn't belong. Whispers on the CB radio that no other driver could hear. A hitchhiker that appeared in the same place 3 nights in a row. Always smiling, always pointing at my trailer. And the worst part? I started to hear the breathing in the truck too. Low. Right behind the driver's seat. I hit a stretch of I-80 heading east, just outside of Cheyenne, Wyoming. That's when things really started to come undone. It was around 2:40 a.m. Pitch black outside with no other vehicles for miles. I hadn't seen a single headlight or taillight in either direction for over an hour, which ain't all that normal for a highway that busy, even at that time. The air in the cab had gone cold, like freezer cold, and the heat was on full blast. That wet breathing I told y'all about? It came back, but this time it was right behind my seat, not faint like before. I didn't dare look in the rear view. Something deep down told me not to. Instead, I tried to drown it out with music. Turned on the radio and found a classic rock station. But every few seconds the song would warp, slow down, like someone was grabbing the signal and twisting it. Then, between songs, instead of commercials, a voice came through the static, raspy and broken, saying my name. Not just "Hey Driver" or "Breaker 19. It said my actual name, first and last, over and over. We see you, my name. We see you, my name. Then the signal just died completely. Total silence. Even the engine noise felt muted, like I was driving underwater. I pulled over at the next rest stop, one of those tiny ones with just a bathroom and a vending machine. There was only one other truck parked there, but no sign of a driver. I got out to stretch, maybe shake off the fear, and when I walked toward the bathroom, I noticed something carved into the brick wall just above the door. It wasn't fresh. Looked like it had been there for decades. But it read, "She rides with him now." No name, no explanation. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. Thought maybe I was going crazy. Thought maybe this was all some long, drawn-out hallucination. Maybe I'd fallen asleep at the wheel and was still dreaming. But the cold I felt on the back of my neck when I turned around, that was real. And so was the figure standing by my rig. She was tall, her head just grazing the bottom of my side mirror. Long black hair matted down across her face, and her arms hung at her sides like they were too heavy for her body. Barefoot, white dress, stained like it had been dragged through mud for miles, and she was just standing there, not moving, not blinking. I backed up slowly, never taking my eyes off her. When I finally reached my cab and looked away for a split second to open the door, she was gone. Just like that. I jumped in and locked the doors, took off without even checking my mirrors. And as I got back on the highway, I looked in the rear view, and for a split second, I saw her again, in the sleeper bunk, just sitting there, staring at the back of my seat. I damn near swerved into a ditch. I drove for hours without stopping. Through sunrise. Through my next fuel up. I didn't care. I was too scared to even take my eyes off the road. I didn't stop again until I hit Iowa, parked at a big truck plaza with lots of lights and people. I thought maybe being around others would help. Maybe I wasn't alone enough for her to come out. But that night, while I tried to sleep in the back of the cab, I heard breathing again. And then whispering. Only this time, it wasn't just one voice. It was 2. Maybe 3. All talking about me. saying things I didn't understand. Why did he leave her? He didn't stop. He knows the rules. I sat up and turned on every damn light in the cab. Nothing. No one. But the next morning, I checked the outside of my trailer, and in the dirt and grime on the back door, someone had written, "You broke the pact." I don't remember ever making any pact. But something out there thinks I did. And now, I think I'm paying the price. So I started questioning everything I knew about the job and about the road itself. Because how could something like this just exist in plain sight without anybody ever mentioning it? I started paying attention to road signs, mile markers, the tiny details that most drivers ignore, and sure enough, things didn't add up. Sometimes I'd pass the same sign twice, but in opposite directions. Sometimes I'd check my GPS and it would spin in circles trying to figure out where I was one night. I saw a diner on the side of the highway, a classic chrome one with neon signs and the smell of bacon drifting out, even though it was the middle of nowhere and I hadn't seen another soul in hours. The parking lot was full of cars like it was rush hour. I walked in and everyone inside turned to look at me, but their eyes were blank and too wide and nobody said a word. They just stared. I sat down at the counter and the waitress came over and poured me a cup of coffee. But when I looked down into the cup, the liquid was pitch black and thick like oil. I didn't even see her walk away. She was just gone. And when I turned back to look at the other customers, they were all gone too. Every seat empty, every plate still warm like they'd just stepped out. And then I heard a voice whisper in my ear, not from a speaker, not from someone nearby, but right inside my head. It said, "We've been waiting for you, driver. This road doesn't forget." And neither do we. I ran out of there and didn't look back, but when I got to my truck, it wasn't where I parked it. Instead, it was sitting at a gas pump, like it had driven itself. There, and the nozzle was still hanging from the side, like someone had just finished fueling up. I climbed in and floored it. I didn't care where I was going, I just needed to get away, but the road kept looping. No matter how far I drove, I'd end up seeing that same diner again and again. Always empty, always waiting. Eventually, I stopped trying to outrun it and just pulled over for the night, hoping that maybe when the sun rose, I'd find myself back in the normal world. But that morning, when I stepped out of my truck, the sky was blood red, and the sun didn't rise, it just hovered there like a glowing wound in the sky, and I heard something moving in the trees beside the road. Not animals, not people, but things that didn't belong. Anywhere in this world, they had too many limbs and not enough faces, and they moved like shadows trying to remember how to be solid. I locked myself in the cab and prayed until I passed out, and when I woke up, it was morning again, and the world was normal birds, chirping sun, shining my GPS, working like nothing had ever happened. But I knew better now. I knew that the road has cracks, and things slip through, and sometimes drivers do too, and not all of them come back. I've kept driving because that's all I know. But I mark the signs. Now I leave little carvings on posts. So I know where I've really been, and when I see one, I already marked. That's when I start getting real nervous. Because that means the road's playing tricks again, and I might be sliding back into that other place. I don't know if there's a way to avoid it completely, but I do know one thing. If you ever hear a voice on the CB that sounds just like yours, don't answer it. Whatever's on the other end. Ain't you, and it ain't friendly, and if you stop for a stranger on the side of the road who doesn't cast a shadow, keep driving because they're not hitchhiking, they're hunting. I've met others like me, a few guys who've seen behind. The curtain one old-timer told me he once picked up a woman in a wedding dress walking down the middle of the interstate, and she kept asking where her husband was until she disappeared, leaving only a veil in the passenger seat he said he kept. It pinned to his dashboard as a reminder that some passengers don't want to get where they're going. They just want to take you with them. And I believe him because I've seen things too. Things that defy explanation, like the time I passed a convoy of military trucks with no drivers. The wheels moving the rigs, humming, but nobody behind the wheel. And when I tried to radio anyone, I just got static, but not regular static. It was voices buried in the noise, crying, whispering, pleading, sometimes screaming, and I swear one time I heard my own name in it. That's the moment I realized this road doesn't just twist geography, it twists reality. It remembers who you are. It tests you. It wants to see what you'll do when you're pushed to the edge. And most drivers don't even realize it until it's too late. But me, I keep talking. I keep telling my story. Because maybe if I say it out loud enough times, it won't eat me whole. Maybe it'll move on to someone else, and maybe, just maybe if you're hearing this now, you'll know what to look out for too. So if you're ever on a long haul through the night and you start to feel like the road's watching you, like the shadows are just a little too thick and the signs don't make sense, trust your gut, because once you start seeing the cracks, there's no going back. And whatever you do, don't fall asleep with your window open, because some things still know how to crawl in. And once they're inside, they never leave. I'll keep driving, and maybe I'll outrun it someday, but I doubt it. This road remembers me. And I remember it, and we're locked in this game now forever. Just me, the highway, and whatever waits at the end, if there even is an end anymore. And every time I think maybe I've shaken it, maybe I've finally broken free from whatever curse this endless highway laid on me, something new creeps out from the cracks to remind me I haven't even scratched the surface. Like the night I saw another rig, same make, same color, same number etched into the side as mine, barreling down the opposite lane. We locked eyes through our windshields, and for a split second, I swear on everything, I saw myself driving that other truck. Not a twin, not a doppelganger. Me. Same old trucker hat, same tired eyes, same scar over my brow I got back in Euro 3 from slipping on a gas station tile. I swerved, heart in my throat, and pulled over into the emergency lane, panting like I'd run a marathon. When I looked back, the highway was empty. No taillights, no diesel rumble, just the quiet buzz of insects and my own pulse banging in my ears. Another time, I picked up a signal on the radio, but it wasn't music or trucker banter. It was a kid's voice, soft, scared, whispering. "Dad, help me. I'm cold." I nearly drove off the road. My son died 10 years ago, in a fire. And no one knows that but me and the fire chief. I turned the radio off and chucked it onto the passenger seat, but the whispering didn't stop. It came from the vents, from the rearview mirror, from inside my own head. That night, I drove with the dome light on, and every mirror turned away. You ever hear of the stretch? Other truckers call it that, 100-mile piece of highway that doesn't exist on any map. You'll be driving through Nebraska or Texas or wherever, and suddenly you realize the markers are all wrong, the gas stations are empty, and the skies turn the color of a bruise. No matter how fast you drive, you don't reach the end. You just keep circling in some kind of loop. I hit the stretch once and I thought I'd never leave. I aged. I watched my stubble grow into a beard in that cab. I ran out of food, ran out of water. Even the fuel gauge started to laugh at me. Literally, the needle bounced like it was mocking me. I broke out by chance. Saw a wreck on the side of the road. A pickup crushed like a soda can. No driver, no blood. Just a teddy bear lying in the grass and a crow perched on the roof, staring at me like it knew something. I got out, I picked up that bear, and when I turned back, my truck was parked in front of a rest stop I recognized from 3 states ago. It was morning. My clock said only an hour had passed, but my beard was still there and my eyes looked 10 years older. Sometimes I think the highway wants something from me. A sacrifice. A secret. A truth I haven't admitted. Maybe that's why it won't let me go. Maybe that's why I still see signs in languages no one's spoken for 1,000 years. Why I wake up to muddy footprints on my dashboard. Or why I hear knocking from the trailer when I'm running empty. If you're thinking of becoming a trucker, don't. Not unless you're ready to meet yourself. And not the version you post about online. I mean the you that lurks in your own nightmares. The version that this highway drags up from your guts and shows you with no warning. Because the road's got memory, friend. It remembers every tire that's touched its surface. Every scream that got swallowed in the fog. Every deal made under the low hum of sodium lights. And if you ever see a gas station with no pumps and a man behind the counter whose eyes don't blink, don't stop. Don't wave. And for God's sake, don't go inside. Just keep driving. Keep those wheels turning. Keep the engine loud. Because the minute you stop, the minute you pause to think or to rest, that's when it finds you. I'm still out here. Still rolling. If you ever hear a CB crackle and someone tells you a story like this, don't brush it off. Listen. Really listen. Because you might be next. Or worse, you already were. And the road's just bringing you back for one more ride. So I kept going night after night, pushing the rig farther into stretches of highway I hadn't dared explore, before hoping I'd hit a point where the road lost interest in me. Or maybe I'd finally find someone else who'd understand what I'd seen. But the deeper I went, the stranger it got. I started noticing time moving weird. Sometimes I'd blink, and it'd be daylight when I swore it had just been midnight. Other times I'd drive for hours, and the clock wouldn't change at all once. I stopped at a truck stop that wasn't on any map, and looked like it hadn't been updated since the 1950s. The gas pumps were ancient. The lights flickered with that sickly yellow glow, and the people inside were dressed like they were frozen. In time, I asked for directions, but nobody answered. They just stared like they were waiting for a cue. And when I turned around to leave, I saw my own face in the security mirror above the counter. Only it wasn't quite right, the eyes were too dark, and the smile was too wide, and it winked at me. I didn't stop driving for 2 days after that, trying to put as much distance between me and that place as I could. But every so often, I'll catch that reflection in other mirrors, even inside my cab, grinning back at me when I'm not smiling at all. And I've stopped using the CB completely, because the voices that come through aren't human anymore. They're too smooth, too perfect. They ask questions no one should know the answers to. They say things like, "How's your mother doing?" James and I never told anyone my mom's name, not even on paper. And when I ask who they are, the only reply I get is, "We are the road now, and we remember everything." And it chills me every time because I think they're telling the truth. This highway has soaked up too much pain, too many stories, too many disappearances to just be asphalt and paint. It's something more now, something alive, and it feeds off our memories, our fear, our loneliness. I've seen too many rigs abandoned on the side of the road with the driver's seat still warm and no sign of a struggle, just gone like the road swallowed them whole. And sometimes at night when I pass a curve just right, I see a trucker standing on the shoulder, staring into the trees motionless, and I never stop anymore. I used to try and help, but one time I pulled over, and when I got out, the figure was gone, and my cab was locked from the inside with the engine still running. I still don't know how that's possible. I never leave the keys in, and I keep the doors manually locked. And the worst part is when, and every time I think maybe I've shaken it, maybe I've finally broken free from whatever curse this endless highway laid on me, something new creeps out from the cracks to remind me I haven't even scratched the surface. Like the night I saw another rig, same make, same color, same number etched into the side as mine, barreling down the opposite lane. We locked eyes through our windshields. And for a split second, I swear on everything I saw myself driving, that other truck, not a twin, not a doppelganger, me same old trucker hat, same tired eyes, same scar over my brow. I got back in '03 from slipping on a gas station tile. I swerved, heart in my throat, and pulled over into the emergency lane, panting like I'd run a marathon when I looked back. The highway was empty. No taillights, no diesel rumble, just the quiet buzz of insects and my own pulse banging in my ears. Another time I picked up a signal on the radio, but it wasn't music or trucker banter. It was a kid's voice, soft, scared, whispering. "Dad, help me. I'm cold." I nearly drove off the road. My son died 10 years ago in a fire and no one knows that. But me and the fire chief, I turned the radio off and chucked it onto the passenger seat. But the whispering didn't stop. It came from the vents, from the rearview mirror, from inside my own head that night. I drove with the dome light on, and every mirror turned away. You ever hear of the stretch other truckers call it that? 100-mile piece of highway that doesn't exist on any map. You'll be driving through Nebraska or Texas or wherever, and suddenly you realize the markers are all wrong. The gas stations are empty, and the sky's turned the color of a bruise. No matter how fast you drive, you don't reach the end. You just keep circling in some kind of loop. I hit the stretch once, and I thought I'd never leave. I aged. I watched my stubble grow into a beard in that cab. I ran out of food, ran out of water. Even the fuel gauge started to laugh at me, literally. The needle bounced like it was mocking me. I broke out by chance, saw a wreck on the side of the road, a pickup. Crushed like a soda can. No driver, no blood, just a teddy bear lying in the grass and a crow perched on the roof, staring at me like it knew something. I got out. I picked up that bear, and when I turned back, my truck was parked in front of a rest stop I recognized from 3 states ago. It was morning. My clock said only an hour had passed, but my beard was still there and my eyes looked 10 years older. Sometimes I think the highway wants something from me, a sacrifice, A secret, a truth I haven't admitted. Maybe that's why it won't let me go. Maybe that's why I still see signs and languages no one's spoken for 1,000 years, why I wake up to muddy footprints on my dashboard, or why I hear knocking from the trailer when I'm running empty. If you're thinking of becoming a trucker, not unless you're ready to meet yourself and not the version you post about online. I mean the you that lurks in your own nightmares, the version that this highway drags up from your guts and shows you with no warning because the road's got memory, friend. It remembers every tire that's touched its surface, every scream that got swallowed in the fog, every deal made under the low hum of sodium lights. And if you ever see a gas station with no pumps and a man behind the counter whose eyes don't blink, don't stop. Don't wave, and for God's sake, don't go inside. Just keep driving. Keep those wheels turning, keep the engine loud, because the minute you stop, the minute you pause to think or to rest, that's when it finds you. I'm still out here, still rolling. If you ever hear a CB crackle, and someone tells you a story like this, don't brush it off. Listen, really listen, because you might be next, or worse, you already were, and the road's just bringing you back for one more ride.